And I heard that LeBron might want to go back and play with his other son, and he'll probably have 4 years of eligibility, so he might be in Tucson by the time we get to the conference play this year. The Big 12 is predicted to get 8 teams into the Big Dance, which makes them third most out of the Power 5 conferences, still behind the Big 10 and the SEC. I think the conference is really top heavy at the top. We're going to get our full predictions and breakdowns of who we think is going to finish at the top and win the Big 12 this year. Remember, if you haven't already, please like, share the video, hit subscribe to enter your name in the portal. Here are the real storylines to think about, though, in the Big 12 before we get into our final predictions. Pro players being added mid-season. Baylor is getting all the attention right now for adding a mid-season professional level basketball player to the roster in James Nnaji. He was drafted 30th, I think, in the NBA. He has not played an NBA game, though. I don't even think he was signed to a two-way contract, which is why the NCAA is allowing him to have eligibility and be able to play immediately. But truth be told, Baylor is not the only team, even in the Big 12, to do something similar to this. So before BYU fans try to come at me for this, it's not the same. I said it's similar. But if you go back on our channel, you can see our video and post on how we feel about Ahmed going to BYU. BYU has added a player who's from the G League who is going to suit up and play this second semester. He's actually already played a game, but he's going to play for the conference. Utah has signed a pro player from Spain and be eligible immediately for Utah. And truth is, I have no issue with any of this. I think if you've played an NBA game, okay, that's where it should stop. But realistically, the G League or even being drafted by an NBA team but not actually playing for them, I don't think should immediately destroy your eligibility. And I don't agree with people being upset at the coaches or the programs for doing so. Kevin Young, Scott Drew, Baylor, BYU, Utah, they're all within their right to do what they've done, honestly. And for some of these other coaches and fans to paint them as the villains, I think is honestly ridiculous. If you have a problem with what is going on in college basketball, the real people you need to be mad at is the NCAA and potentially the NBA for letting some of these G League and drafted players be able to go back to college. Your problem should not be with the coaches or the programs. They're well within their right. And I said weeks ago, talking about BYU specifically, they needed to get Ahmed playing this season to give them the best chance at winning a national championship, a Big 12 conference, whatever it is that they were going to end up trying to do this year. Ahmed gives them a better chance, specifically with some of the injuries that they've picked up and some of the problems that they've had inside with big depth. It makes total sense for him to play now. It's well within the rules. BYU, kudos to you guys. I have no issue with it at all. I just don't want to see the players and the coaches getting knocked, and even the schools for getting knocked when the problem is not with them at all. It's the NCAA and it's the NBA, honestly. But like we said, BYU has done it. Utah added a pro player from Spain over the holiday break. Lucas Langarita is a 6'5" guard and one of the top prospects in Spain and all of Europe. Florida was another school that was in contention trying to recruit him and get him eligible to play this season. He ends up going to Utah because his old coach is now on the staff there. And this is a quote from the Utah GM, Wes Wilcox. After losing a key contributor to injury before the start of the season, our staff worked diligently across the globe to secure a significant mid-year addition. While the timing and his transition from Europe to the NCAA are unique, we're excited to welcome Lucas to our program as we head into Big 12 play. Now, this is where I think this storyline becomes another storyline, and it's how do these guys perform and settle in, given it's something that we haven't really seen a lot of, and in some situations we've never seen before. It's difficult for Lucas is 19, James is 20. I'm not sure how old Ahmed is, but basically in that late teen, early 20 range, or where these kids are at, putting them in an environment like this that is going to be scrutinized by the media and watched by everybody is a difficult situation for them to come into. They also really have no tune-up time. I think Ahmed might be the one that has the best chance of this working out because he's been at BYU longer than Lucas and James have been at their respective programs. But the truth that, and he's not going to be asked to be a star player. There's a chance Lucas and James are probably going to be asked to be one of the better players on the team immediately for Utah and Baylor. And there's no tune-up games for them. Ahmed's already played one game for BYU. I think he played 9 minutes in it. I think he scored 2 points. Obviously, he's going to be featured more, but Kevin Young is not going to put him in a situation where, hey, we're going to throw you in the starting lineup. I'm not sure. I don't think he'll start anyways for BYU. BYU fans, get in the comments. Let me know if you think he'll start or come off the bench. Utah opens up Big 12 play with BYU and Texas Tech in their first 3 games. Welcome to the Big 12, Lucas. Baylor play Iowa State and Houston in their first 3 games. So there is no adjustment period. There's no time to get settled into a new club, a new team, a new city, a new environment, a new situation. And on top of it, specifically the James Nnaji situation in Baylor, the entire college basketball world is going to be hyper focused on this situation and how he does. And do they even really find success immediately on? Again, I think Ahmed is in the best situation with BYU to do that out of the three guys. But you guys get in the comments, let me know what you think some of the problems are going to be, or if you think it's going to be smooth sailing for all three of them. All right, let's get into these predictions. Even with some of those additions, I still think the Big 12 is extremely top heavy. So we're going to break down our top 6 and give you a quick pitch on all of them. Right now, we're going to start at number 6. At number 6, I got the Kansas Jayhawks. The biggest question for Kansas is going to be the health of Peterson. But with that being said, they have had moments in games where they've looked really good even without him. The UConn game at home was a really good first half. UConn kind of switched a gear in the second, and I think ended up winning the second half by 10 points. And then the Duke game. Both games did not feature Peterson. The NC State game where we saw Council score 36 points, I think was the game that Peterson re-aggravated his hamstring again and now has been out since then. And Kansas's identity is not going to be Council dropping 36 to 40 points for them to win basketball games. It's good to know that it can happen and you can go into an environment like NC State and you do have someone who's capable of doing that. That is not the equation for them to have success in the Big 12 this year, but they've proven even without Peterson, they might actually be playing a little bit better. Now, I know that seems crazy to say and that I'm almost saying Kansas is better without Peterson. That's not the case. You are your best when your best player is available, but we've seen really good things out of them over the course of the year, even without them. They open up the conference schedule against UCF on the road, which is a big game because I think Central Florida is a team that could finish in that top 6. And if you lose that game, you're kind of now already putting yourself behind them as far as the conference play goes. But Kansas has at home this year, Iowa State, BYU, Arizona, Houston. Then they will go to UCF, Texas Tech on the road, Iowa State on the road, Arizona on the road. I think that's what hurts them the most as far as it concerns to the Big 12 conference record, and that you're playing Arizona twice and you're playing Iowa State twice. If I'm a Kansas fan, I would probably sign up for 1-3 in those games right now, but it could legitimately be 0-4. But honestly, Kansas fans, don't hang your head if this group ends up finishing 6 in the Big 12. I think they kind of swung and missed on some prospects again. Bill Self has had some health stuff as well. Obviously, the situation with Peterson, if they were to finish 6th in this conference or even 5th, I honestly would say, look, we will take that given the circumstances that we've had and this team not being quite what we expected it to be. In 5th, I've got the Texas Tech Red Raiders, my favorite team to watch in this conference by far. And the 1-2 punch of Anderson and Toppin might be the best 1-2 punch, not only in the conference, but in the entire country. The biggest piece with this team is going to be Lawan Watts, and if he's able to come in and fill in that 3rd spot. He's been trending in the right direction. He had the game of his life against Northern Colorado with 36 points. 20 against Duke, even though I think he fouled out with like 12 minutes left to go in that game. And then only 4 points against Winthrop, and he only played 22 minutes. But that averages out to 20 a night. And honestly, even if you can just get him 15 to 18 points a night, you will take that and sign up for that right now if you're Texas Tech, which he's always going to be in this situation. I think he's going to be compared to D. Will. We've talked about this before on the channel. D. Will was 15 points a night at Texas Tech through the regular season. Then he kind of went on that run in March. But if you can get that 14, 15 point production out of Watts, the shooters around those three start hitting shots consistently. We've seen the toughness and grit out of them in that Duke game, which to me is still one of the best 4 or 5 maybe wins that the entire Big 12 has gotten this year. They're capable of beating anybody in the country, but they're also capable of losing to just about anybody in the country at this point. But I think Grant has established himself as one of the best coaches in the conference and potentially one of the best coaches in the nation. I really like what they have. We saw the run they went on in March last year, getting to the Elite Eight and losing to Florida, a game in which they easily could have won. We're up to, I think, with 55 seconds left. As far as their schedule goes in the Big 12, they will have BYU, Houston, and Kansas at home, but they do find themselves on the road against Houston, Baylor, Central Florida, Arizona, Iowa State, and BYU. It's a really tough schedule. It's a really tough draw. I've got Texas Tech in the 5th due to how difficult that schedule could be. At number 4, we're going to go with Houston. The Cougs come into conference play at 12-1, and their one loss was a great game in Vegas to Tennessee. And we saw Gillespie and Flemings kind of duke it out in that game. Houston really could point to that game and say, we probably should have won it and should be 13-0 at this point going into conference play. The Arkansas game was impressive, but also shaky at the same time, specifically in the second half of that game. But they pulled away that victory. It was a really gritty victory against Auburn that came down to defensive possessions and stops. So you still see that identity and culture and brand of Houston still there under Sampson, even with some younger guys getting more minutes than we're typically used to in that Houston program. I feel like 4th is low because they always win whatever conference they're in. It feels like in the last few years, whether it was the American and when they jumped to the Big 12, they always win it. I think this group has a ton of talent and a ton of potential, But with how difficult the Big 12 will be to navigate this year, I think there's a chance that they do slip a little bit. But even then, if they are fourth in the conference, in my opinion, that is still a good year, in my opinion, and probably puts them honestly on the 3 line in March Madness when we get there. And I think Houston would sign up for that. Their home games include Texas Tech, Central Florida, Arizona. They go on the road to Baylor, to Tech, BYU, Iowa State, and Kansas. That then brings us to my third team, which I'm going with BYU. And the reason why I do have BYU over Houston in this situation is because they are playing each other once, and that game is going to be in Provo. So I'm going to give the edge slightly to BYU for that reason. AJ is clearly the best player in the country. I think that's been established. I really like the midseason addition of Ahmed. I think he's going to be a huge catalyst and a huge piece. And I said on a video before that if they added that piece, that does take them to another level. So I've kind of got to respect what I said in that situation. The thing with him, though, is they really don't have a great win to hang their hat on yet. The BYU game in Boston, it was impressive to see them come back, even though it came up a little bit short. The Clemson game was also a really good comeback, but you also shouldn't have been down 20 to begin with to that Clemson team, I think. But the games are 40 minutes, so you've got to be fair. They did still come away with the win, and AJ looked amazing. Since that Clemson game as well, they've won their games by 47, 36, 19, and 26. So obviously they're getting better. Their home slate is Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. They'll go on the road to Tech, Kansas, Baylor, and Arizona. It's a pretty balanced schedule. And again, because they have that Houston game in Provo and don't have to go back to H-Town, I'm going to give them the slight nod. But I don't think there's a huge difference between 3 and 4 right now. And more likely, I would give it to Houston because of the pedigree of the program and Sampson as a coach, and it's a proven, established environment. But AJ Dybansta is the best player in the country, and he's going to give you a chance to win every game. That's just kind of simply how it is. Number 2, we're going to go with Iowa State. And honestly, I'm not sold on Iowa State being a 1 seed when we get to March, which is where they're projected right now. I've said that I think the Big 12 do get 2 1 seeds into March, so I've also got to uphold that. And it should be Iowa State in this situation. I've watched them a few times and haven't been hugely impressed, but they do bode one of the best 4 wins in the conference, going to Purdue and winning that handily. And if you are able to do that, clearly you have some sort of talent. And as it pertains to their Big 12 schedule, they have the easiest, in my opinion, out of all these top 6 teams of a Big 12 conference schedule. They have Kansas at home, Houston at home, and Tech at home. And they only go on the road to Kansas, BYU, and Arizona. They avoid playing Houston twice. They avoid playing Tech twice. They avoid playing BYU twice. And they avoid playing Arizona twice. So given that, I think their record is going to end up being really good. I do not have them getting to the Big 12 championship game when we get to the tournament. But I think as far as it goes in the regular season, I think they end up finishing second solely based on the schedule. And then number 1, no surprise if you've been on this channel, is the Arizona Wildcats. I said Arizona was the number 1 team in the country after the first week of watching them play, and basically have been proven right ever since. They have the best one in the country, going to UConn and winning. Jaden Bradley is a top 3-point guard in the country, in my opinion. Delly is one of the best scorers off the bench. They have really good freshman talent in Burries and Pete, but they also have a good mix of veteran guys. They're deep, they're big, they can play a multitude of different ways. If you want to see my whole video breakdown on Arizona, watch for the video to pop up at the end of this one, or go back on our channel and find our Arizona Final Four bound video. That'll break down all my thoughts on Arizona, so we won't have to get all into that again right now. They really have everything they do to win multiple banners this year in Tucson. They can win at home, and from someone who is a huge fan of the old school Pac-12, the Zoo is a really difficult place to go. They have Tech at home, BYU at home, Kansas at home, Iowa State at home, and then they go on the road to BYU and to Houston, so somewhat of a favorable schedule as well. And I heard that LeBron might want to go back and play with his other son, and he'll probably have 4 years of eligibility, so he might be in Tucson by the time we get to the conference play this year. Just kidding. I don't see that type of situation happening. But all in all, that's my breakdown for the Big 12 this year. Get in the comments, what do you think about these players coming back and joining midseason? Should it be the NCAA? Should the NBA be involved in that matter? Is it really the program and the coach's fault? How do you think those guys adjust and settle in to Big 12 conference play immediately? What are your predictions? Who do you have in the top 3? And does the Big 12 get 2 1 seeds into the big dance this year? I think they do. I just believe it should be Arizona and somebody else, but it is probably going to end up being Arizona and Iowa State. So get in the comments, let me know. But remember, share the video, hit like, hit subscribe to enter your name in the portal, and stay with us all year. We love seeing you guys in the comments. We will answer back to all of your comments, debate you guys, talk to you guys, everything. We really love and appreciate everything you guys have done for the channel. This is our first year, and hopefully it's just up from there. Happy New Year's and happy conference play. See you guys on the next one.